Well, good day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of WTF Walk the Floors. I'm Stephanie Ledger with First Rate Hospitality, and I have Michele Kline, my co host with Kline Hospitality. How are you today, Michele?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Stephanie?
Very well. We're, starting to be that winter, spring. For us, it's summer.
Summerish?
Yeah, summer ish.
We're still very much full on winter on the West Coast.
We don't
Yes.
know what that is down here in Florida. But so excited for another episode. So, what are we going to be talking about today, Michele?
I want us to take a deep dive into communication. What does effective communication look like? What is engaging communication? Because here's the deal: deficient communication and lack of engagement has become the number one factor in employee turnover. And most people on the other side must be thinking right now, she's crazy. Absolutely not. It has to do with pay increase or lack thereof, right? Whatever all those things look like, the reality is when somebody is standing in front of another offer or is standing in front of the decision to quit their job and go somewhere else, the fact that they are not feeling comfortable to speak with their superior about that struggle or that challenge or that other opportunity, that leads to our thought of there is deficient communication. So, what are some of the benefits of effective communication, knowing that it is such a big problem these days, right? There's a few things that I always like to touch upon, and here's the thing: when we communicate effectively, when we communicate efficiently, when we engage through communication, using communication as a means of transportation to get us to the person on the other side, we create better relationships. And what we do at work, when you work with people, it is all about relationships, either with those above us, those beside us, those below us, those in front of us, whatever that looks like. Relationships built on the solid ground of good communication tend to be stronger and can even help participants find opportunities for personal growth. Anyone who's involved in effective, efficient, engaging communication. It also helps handle conflicts better, right? You're better equipped to have those difficult conversations with a guest or have a conversation where perhaps you need to negotiate something specific with a vendor, or maybe it has to do with having a team member who's not really comprehending what the standards of the policies or whatever that is looks like, and how do we make two different people see the ball that is on the table the same color, right? We are able to, with effective communication, build empathy, and people seek empathy, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
able to put ourselves on somebody else's shoes in order to get to the finish line is incredibly important to bridge some of those gaps as we maneuver around running our business and creating those memorable experiences, right? Communication also allows us to increase self-awareness, which is very important when it comes to leadership. Building trust would be my last nugget. Having what I call the speed of trust is incredible, because when we trust the people around us, when we trust that they are equipped to handle, to mitigate risk, then we're able to let things flow and things move faster. What do you think are some of the benefits, Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely it makes your team gel, I guess you could say, of creating the morale in a positive way of having that communication, because you're communicating, but there are going to be a lot of people talking behind each other's back. It's communication, but it's not effective communication. And then you can just sense it in the department and the morale being down, where you have that effective communication coming from your leader. It's setting that expectation too. I understand what I need to do today because my manager communicated to me effectively, and not just saying, hey, we need to making sure that we're ready for the group arrival. Okay, well, what time do we expect them? How are they arriving? How are they booked underneath the codes and the reservation system? All of those things, I think when the leaders are communicating and communicating with detail, then you see it in the department of all these other benefits that come with it. And the main thing too is, I want to touch on is we say effective communication, but really emphasizing on the word effective, because even how I said before with, yeah, we're communicating, but we're not communicating effectively, and knowing each other of your team members' personalities. Because the way that a leader may communicate, say, when I was a front desk agent, is very different than they would maybe communicate to someone that was a little bit more seasonal, or just having a different personality of how they retain information. So I think that's a lot for even a manager to being able to juggle with effective communication, but knowing how to be effective for their team, because it's very different for their team compared to someone else's team.
Absolutely understanding their audience. Yes, I love that what you said about it, effective communication boosting employee morale. Right? We
Yeah,
talk about engagement and productivity, and customer service satisfaction, and all those things are 100% related to the way we communicate with our team, to the way we communicate with our guests, with our patrons, with our customers. Right? It creates collaboration,
yes.
and when everybody is in alignment and is cooperating with each other, then things run smoother and we are able to deliver to the brand standards that we have in front of us.
Absolutely. So let's talk about two of just some examples that would be like right in the workplace. So we've talked about it in general with the tips and the nuggets that you're giving, but how for our audience would you say they could be able to use it, saying in the housekeeping departments? With that effective communication where you're having all these different personalities, um, years of experience and novice, and now you as the director of housekeeping having to provide effective communication with what you were saying earlier.
I love that question, Stephanie. And
Mhm.
it's not just about adapting the message, because many times as leaders, what we do is we go to the one area that we know that is going to work, right? Which is we'll adapt the message so that the people can understand it. Here's the thing: we have to adapt not only the message, but also the delivery.
Mhm.
Adapting the message, for example, meaning if we are dealing with someone who speaks a different language or whose their mother language is Spanish or Tagalog or whatever that looks like, being able to translate it into their language, right? Maybe it's standards in housekeeping that we're sharing. Maybe it's a specific memo. Maybe it's the inspection sheet, right? Now, what happens with the delivery? Meaning, if you have someone who is not well versed in how to use specific tools, then do we adjust those tools for them so that we truly get the point across? Are we using empathy? People want to
Mhm.
be listened to, people want to be seen, people want to be understood, right? Are we being empathetic when we say, today you're going to go out and strip every single room to the houseman or the house attendant in that specific section? And that person is going to say, well, today I have this, and this as well, right? So are we trying to comprehend what's happening on the other person's shoes? Because at the end of the day, the message is still going to be the same. But the
Mhm.
way we deliver that message will allow that person to be more open to receiving it and really taking that ball to the finish line. So I think that's important too. Then the other thing that I think is important is finding common ground, right? Sometimes we
Yeah.
can't get to I always use the analogy of the ball. You have a ball in the center of the table, and I look at the ball, and for you, the ball is blue. For me, the ball is green. Okay, the ball is actually red. How do we both get to the point where we both see the ball red? And finding
Mhm.
common ground is going to allow us to get to see the red ball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's with effective communication and working with your team and how you were saying adapting, but then also to effective communication is a two-way street as well. So it's not just the leader saying, this is what needs to be done. I need you to do this and this is the expectation for today, but then also too of being able to receive the communication that's coming from your audience as well. And that's even not just with your leadership and team members, but then even your colleagues as well. We could be on the same floor in our sections, and how many times have we've now been short on vacuums.
Mhm.
And being able to communicate with each other to seeing how can we be able to share this vacuum where we need to get the job done, and then being able to communicate so we're not, trying to sabotage each other and now have a miserable day.
Absolutely. What about keeping communication simple? Let's
Yes.
think about food and beverage, right? The specials for today.
Yeah.
And let's think about front desk. What's going on? What groups do we have in house? What kind of entertainment do we have in house today, and at what times? And right,
Yeah.
anything both teams need to know, more than likely, or in many cases, they receive it either on the board or on a newsletter or whatever that looks like. Right, your pre-shift information. How many times have you been at a property where the pre-shift information sheet is so complex that people don't even get past half of it?
No.
So then they really don't know what the menu of the day is, what groups we have in house, who's coming in, who's leaving, what entertainment, all those things you were trying to communicate. You thought you were giving them the tools to actually get their job done in an efficient manner. You're just complicating it.
Yep. And even how many times too with communication, it's always first shift. First shift gets all the communication because that's when the most, leaders are on property. Everyone's, coming out of their meetings to knowing what's going on for the day. And so first shift comes in and they get the most information, most communication. Now, second shift, there's someone that's coming in between shift because of hours of operation and stuff. And they don't get that same communication to knowing what they need to do and what the expectation is, or even our overnight and our third shift, as well as making sure that they're having the communication and the check-in too of being, is there anything that you see that you're short on, whether it be cleaning supplies or um, paper for printing, doing the night audit, and being able to have the communication being consistent as well. It's not just like, oh, I need to be nice to you all today because we're going to have a rough day. And so now I'm going to be on top of communicating, and then come the next day, we're back to however it may be, but making sure too with the consistency of your communication.
I have to say that one of the top five issues or challenges or areas of opportunity that come up when I go in and I do departmental assessments on the night shift, it always comes up. We never know anything.
Yeah.
No one ever tells us anything.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And communication doesn't have to be verbal. We've been talking about it, whether you're having it written on the board, you're passing out paper, you're putting memos into the chat. You don't have to speak to the person directly every single time, but you have to find where that happy medium is and compromising to being able to having that effective communication, to making sure that your team members have the information they need, they're feeling valued with the information that they're being provided, and they also to feel that there's the openness for them to being able to communicate back. So maybe they're saying, oh, well, why are we having this special when it's going to be a complicated special when we have a dinner party for 40 people that's in the private dining room as well. So we're now already setting ourselves up for failure. But having that line staff that can already see what's going to happen and having them feel comfortable that they can be able to voice and saying, do we think this is the best special for the night, with knowing how our reservations and um, what we have going on in the dining room.
Yeah, absolutely. What about staying authentic? How do you
Yeah.
feel about that piece when it comes to communication? Because we hear that a lot these days.
Yes, and that goes with the consistency, as well as part of that authenticity. So, the employees and even your fellow team members and leadership can pick up when you're being not authentic, and you're either in a bad mood or you're just really not feeling that you're just here to collect a paycheck,
Or
basically.
maybe you just don't have the answer
Yeah.
because you either really don't have the answer because you have no knowledge,
Yep.
or you're not able to commit to something,
Yeah.
right? And authenticity, I think, falls in that bucket too. If you're not able to commit to something, don't.
Mhm.
Be
Mhm.
open and let people know that I am unable to say yes to this. Let me see what I can do, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
perhaps you don't have the knowledge.
Mhm.
I don't have that type of information, or I'm unsure of how to answer that question. I am going to do a little research and come back to you, or redirecting it to someone else. So it's okay not to have all the answers, and that also keeps you authentic and genuine.
Yeah. Or even being, "Can you teach me?" Just show me once, and then or show me a few times, making sure that I get it, and then I'll be able to assist you. But you can't expect me to be able to do it right off the bat when I've never been taught.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, this is a topic that I like when we're going through our training session and with our employees, because it ties into so many other things, like you were saying, with authentic communication, and then also too with empathy and just, those nonverbal cues that we all, talk in the training about how that all comes together to being able to take care of the guests and creating that positive morale in your department too.
Absolutely. I strongly believe that the most effective leaders know how to connect with people. And if
Yes.
we're not able to connect with people, the first thing that we need to look at is how are we communicating? What does the messaging look like? What does the delivery look like? And what is happening on the other side, right?
Yep.
So it's really not about having power or being a popular
Mhm.
leader, but really about making the people around them feel heard, feel comfortable, feel confident, feel empowered, feel understood, feel
Yep.
seen. Everyone
Yep.
wants to be seen,
Yes, yeah,
right?
and the transparency as well. I definitely had some old school European leaders that were very, direct, but I loved it because there was nothing hidden. This is what the expectation is. This is what we needed to do, and I'm here to being able to help you, but I expect you to being able to let me know. But if you don't let me know, then I already assumed that you're ready to go. But really just having that, communication that was very direct, and there was nothing no holes in the communication.
I love that. That's great. Final nugget.
Final nugget is just making sure that look at yourself of the way that you're communicating, and I would use it first as the pre-shift. How are you utilizing your pre-shift and communicating to your team? And I think that's a great way to being able to analyze. Are you getting the feedback from your other team members and your associates, or is it basically you're just reading off of that compliment? Goodbye. I'm just really tongue tied right now. Complicated pre shift page, and just kind of reading it off and then being like, all right, everyone have a great day. And then there, how is that making sure that it's being effective, and then seeing from there where you need to readjust your communication.
Fantastic. Anyone can learn to communicate in ways that consistently build powerful connections. So go out there, walk the floors, find the way, find the areas of opportunity, and start connecting with your people, start engaging with your people, and use communication, effective communication,
Mm.
as a means of transportation to get your team to success. Thank you for being on the other side. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.